Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, so, welcome to the Studihub Alumni Network session on Figma. So, to ensure a smooth session, let's ensure that our mics are turned off to avoid interference. So, my name is Eugene Adavore. An illustrator and a product designer. So, I'll be in charge of this session for the evening. So, in case there is anything that I say that is not audible or I'm going too fast or even too slow, just call my attention to it so we can be clear and have a smooth sail on Figma. So outline for today. So it's an illustration class, yes. So we are going to have a basic view of what Figma is, explore its workspace, then we'll move on to shapes and frames and colors, move on to vector diagrams, which is the foundation for illustrations, then move on to replicating of designs, either logos, either human figures, either animations. Then we go into effects, highlights, and shades, which can use to touch up our designs. So I'll stop sharing this screen now and take us to a Figma workspace. So in case there is anything that is not clear, please draw my attention to it. So I'll stop sharing. I'll resume sharing of a window. Give me a second. Figma.com. Okay, so this is basically the general interface for a Figma account for someone that has actually signed them before. So in case you are new to Figma entirely, what you usually do is that you take into a space where you have to sign in or sign up either using your Google Chrome, Google account, your Facebook, or internet banking account. So in case you are new to Figma, what you do is that
I think we can't hear you, Eugene. Let's wait for a while. I think there's a network problem. So let's just wait for a while.
sign in normally using your email address and your password. So what
We couldn't hear you. We couldn't hear you before. Like, can you can you go over what you said before?
sorry about that. Can you
Okay.
still hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So is my screen still being shared?
No.
Okay, let me try and rectify that. Just give me a second.
Yes,
I'm
the
sorry.
network is bad.
Your end too.
No, no, not my end.
Okay, so here we are. So once you're signed into your Figma, it basically shows you the works you've been working on before, your different tablets, different works. They're called drafts basically. So I did some work far back February, and they're still here. June still here. So that's the good thing about it. It saves all your documents. There's no. It's going to be hard to actually find a missing workspace. Basically, once it's saved with internet, it's already saved. So let's go to our empty space for Figma. It's loading. So this is basically Figma. It looks very, very simple, and it actually is simple. What it entails is just practice, practice, practice. So this center here is save to draft. Title is Studihub. So you can actually change this to whatever name you want to. Either you can say Ebele Studihub and the likes. So whatever name you want to save it as, you can work. Then this axis is for your tools. So some of us are designers here, so you know that this is like a picker tool. This is the shape tool, this is a pen tool, this is a text tool. So it actually has very, very simple tools that are actually very, very easy to use. The only thing that may be different here is this frame. Is this frame. So what the frame basically is it gives you a should I call it a border to work with basically. So we have different formats that different designs work with. Yes, we have UI formats now. We can say Android, iPhone, and the likes. We can say for posters, we can have A4 and the likes. Then for social media, we have different dimensions that are available. So what it does is that the frame is going to give you prepared um, dimension to work with. Now, so once I click on the frame, what it does is that if you watch, I'll just zoom into your right end of the workspace. You see underneath the share, you see design, you see prototype, you see inspect. So the design now is showing us phone, is showing us tablets, showing us desktop, is showing us watch, is showing us paper, social media, and from our community. What this basically means,
Back.
are we good?
Okay, yeah.
Uh, Crypto, please, can you please turn off your microphone? Crypto. Okay, let's move on, Sha. So if there's any question, just let me know. So as I was saying,
Yeah.
thank you very much, sir. As I was saying, so the format actually has a way of restricting our designs to a particular dimension. So we have dimensions like phone. You see iPhone 11 Pro Max, iPhone 8, iPhone SE, and the likes. That's for phone. We have tablets, iPad mini, we have desktop formats, MacBook, iMac, and the likes. We have paper formats, A4, A5, letter, tabloid. We have social media, which is going to be what most persons will be working with mainly, either Twitter posts, Twitter header, Facebook posts, Instagram posts. So if you click on any one of them, you see a given dimension. This is for an IG post now. This is it. The dimension is 1080, 1080. Then if we click on, let's say, Twitter header, the dimension is 1500, 500. So what it does is that it basically gives you dimension. So it gives you, how do I say it now? If you want to post it somewhere that is not for every, want to just tailor it to a particular social media account or social media platform, you can just come here and select a given frame to work with, either Twitter, Instagram, and the like. So even if it's for posters, A4 posters, what else again? A6 letter, you get, you can just come here and voila, it's already here. So that's for our frame. The next thing is for the tools now. The shape tools, like the other design apps we are used to, the Photoshop, the CorelDRAW, Illustrator. We have different tools: rectangle, line, polygon, star. So what majority of persons will use is either the rectangle and the ellipse, or to an extent. polygon and star, but I really see designs that actually use that. So they have different shortcuts. For rectangle, now you can say it's R. You click and you draw. You get our rectangle. Another tool is our line. You click and you draw. You get our line. Another tool is our arrow. You see, click and draw. So that's basically it. Another tool is our ellipse. You click and you draw. Our polygon. Click and you draw. Our star. You click and you draw. So that basically it's for all the tools. Then this is for image. In case you want to insert an image, you just click on Control Shift K or come here, place image. It opens a box that you allow you to select whatever you want to select and insert it easy. So that's that for the shapes. So moving on, we have the pen tool, which is like the most powerful tool that's, like I was telling someone before, most powerful tool that we use in Figma. Basically, what it does is that it allows us to draw vector diagrams. So when I say vector, it's like sketches. Whatever is not shape is a vector. You get, so we can say we want to draw this now. This is a vector diagram, not minding the way it's looking, but it's a vector. So what the pen tool is that it allows us to trace, to draw, and basically whatever a pen can do is what it does, but virtually speaking. So that's that for our pen tool. So we'll be majorly using our pen tool for all our designs, illustration wise, for pen tool. So the thing is, once we can get a hang of using the pen tool and build upon that knowledge, we can basically design anything, illustrations, animations, anything basically. So that's that for the pen tool. Moving on, we have the text tool. It's just for text, just for text, just for text. So that's that for that. If there are any questions, please just let me know, so we'll tackle that. So if you observe, there are two different white, not so blank, but white spaces at either side of the workspace. At the left hand side, we have that of layers. So what it does is that it shows us what is on the workspace. It shows us what's on the workspace. So let's say now we want to draw a rectangle. You see it here, rectangle. Let's say we want to draw a circle. We see it here on the left hand side, a circle or an ellipse. Let's say we want to draw a line. We see it here. So they are all in layers. So what this one does now, for example, we can adjust the layers. Let's say, for example, we want this one to be, let's add stroke. We want this one to come to the front, to go to the back rather. And let's say this, let's add stroke, should be in the center. Then the line should be behind. We can basically work with this layers panel. So we can adjust the rectangle to be in the background, then work the line to be the front, work this ellipse to be in the center. So we can basically alternate the position of each shape in different layers using the layer panel. So if you observe the right hand side, what it shows us is the properties. Let's click on this now. You'll see the dimensions of the ellipse in the XY axis, in the width and the height of the ellipse, and the color, the stroke. Basically, this one shows us the properties of the shape we're working with. So not just the shape, even the vector. Let's say we're drawing this. Looking at the right hand side, you'll see the properties of this particular vector, the width, the height, the position on the XY axis, and the stroke. Also the color, we can actually add color to it. So what else again? So remember I mentioned, okay, this. So moving on, let's look at colors. Another particularly important things we need to know in Figma is colors. Colors are very, very tricky. Even till now, I have issues with the colors, particularly with mixing them and looking for the best ones that actually fit. So colors are very important. So let's look at different shapes and apply colors to them. It's just like Figma, Photoshop, CorelDRAW, and the like. So there's the panel for different colors. You see the spectrum here. You can alternate the spectrum, go to different color spectrum. Then this, on the other hand, underneath the spectrum is opacity. We can choose to reduce it to 0, it has vanished, or to 100, or to like 50 medium. So that's that. Now, if you watch here, we have this 6262F. This is like color code. Then RBG, most persons use RBG. This is like, I don't know how best to explain this, but it's basically there are different color codes that different designers like working with. What I actually prefer using is this hex. You can actually just write, let's say, B9, B9, B9. It's like that. Increase opacity, you see that is like a grayish kind of thing. Or I can say F9, F9, F9 is almost blue and white. So it depends on what you can actually easily understand and work with, basically. So that's that for colors. So we'll get back to colors when we move on further into the session. So next on the outline is replicating a design. Okay, so we have a basic understanding of how Figma is the workspace, the different tools. So how can we use Figma to design, to replicate a particular design? So let's look for some of my designs that we can easily replicate and look at the principles behind the replication. So it's loading now. So what we'll do is, there's a design there. Yes. So we want to replicate that design. How do we do that? So what's thing we need to understand is the fact that each design, each particular structure you see is made up of different blocks. So the blocks can be different shapes, can be different angles and the like. So what we need to do is that we don't design first. We just observe the design. Let's look at this ballerina. Let's look at her. Okay, so some crazy persons now, some design cultists would want to say, okay, let's use shapes to draw this ballerina. That is possible, no doubt about that. But then again, it is extremely going to be difficult. But then again, the pen tool is what we can use to replicate the design easily, fairly easily. So there are different kind of designs. Like what I actually major in, I prefer doing hyper-realistic drawings, hyper-realistic designs, like where I can have a picture of a human being and replicate it to almost exact, to try and to a certain degree have the exact picture, but using Figma. So now some persons prefer animations, cartoons, anime. That is cool. So, but the principle still remains the same. Knowing how to use a pen tool, how to apply your colors and effects. So let's work with this ballerina. So we click on the pen tool. Most things you do with design illustrations is using your pen tool. So it will come to wherever suits us to start with. But for us to have an easy approach to designing, to what's the word now? To replicating design, we need to know how the pen tool actually works. So what it does, what we do is that we click on a point, click on another point, then we drag. That's just how it is. We drag, drag, drag. Whenever you see a line that is like your best fit, you stop, you click on the point again. So avoid that. You observe now that there is an arc following the pencil. To avoid that arc following the pencil, you click on the node to stop it. So if you want to go to another point, you click on somewhere else, then you drag. You observe, it's moving, it's moving. So not every one of us can grasp this pen tool usage easily, but if you are a designer already, you have a fairly amount of ease when working with pen tool. So let's try and do this ballerina now. You can choose any way to work with, either here, here, even the head, or here. So let's try the arm. Let's try here. So we click and we drag. We click and we drag. So if there's any question, just let me know. We click and we drag. So if anybody wants to at least get a feel of how Figma works, what you usually do is just go to figma.com and sign up with Google account. And it should take you to a workspace to work with. So we click and we drag. We click and we drag. So if you're using a mouse, to easily zoom, just press Control, then use your roller to go in or out. So you get, for ease. So I don't really think using your laptop pad will actually be efficient, because there are some things you will need to do that it cannot allow you access to. So you click and you drag. And another thing again with designing is that it requires patience. God of mercy, patience is very important. Like, so like someone like me that doesn't really have that much patience, sitting down for hours trying to trace something exactly, it will be difficult. So we need patience in designing. If you're not patient, you'll probably just be designing square most of the time. So click and drag. So click and drag. So most of the works you see that I do and some other illustrators do is actually this. They replicate designs, either their designs, or when I say their designs, what we do is that if you are a good artist, or you can draw something on paper, we draw on paper, we take a picture, then bring it to Figma, then we trace it. After tracing, we apply effects and colors and the like. So that's basically it. If you see illustrators that have original concepts, that's what they do. They draw on paper, they bring to Figma, trace and add effects. Click and drag. So that's basically it. We just go round, clicking and dragging. And if it's your first time using the pen tool, and the thing is, the pen tool in Illustrator and Figma, they're kind of almost the same thing, but Figma is actually easier compared to Illustrator. But if you are good in Illustrator, Figma will be easy for you. It's very easy for you. So we click and drag, going around and around the entire outline of the body. So we're almost halfway done. So you observe that there are extensions after each node. So what they do is that they aid you in trying to adjust the lines. So in case it's not fitting enough for you, you just adjust each point. Like now, observe this. I'm adjusting that extension to fit the line I prefer. Click and drag. So the lines, the extensions are to aid your design, to make it smoother. Okay. So if there are any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me. So basically, this is what we do when we try to replicate designs. From the most simple design to the most complex design, this is what we do using the pen tool. It just takes our understanding of the individual makeup of each design, what needs to go where and what needs to be done. But majority of the work is done with the pen tool. We trace each vector. So we're almost done here. Remember the nodes. They're there to aid the design. Okay, this is the last node. Okay, so we have a ballerina perfectly traced. See. So what we basically did is to use the pen tool to trace her outline. Most designs, whatever you see, either like, okay, let's say these guys now. I did this a few months ago. This is the, what's it called? The actual image. Yes. So what I did was tracing each one. Okay, so remember we talked about layers. It's going to have it's going to play a very, very big role here in this particular design, because this hair now, it needs to be in the front, then the face should be behind, the ear should be somewhere like in between ish. Then this okay, this hand now, the glove, should be outside, then these fingers should be behind. You get, so layers are going to play a very, very big role. So we can trace each individual component, then use layers to organize them properly. So the basic thing is just knowing how best to work with your design after you've outlined, you trace the outline. So now look at our ballerina traced. So let's apply color. Let's see how she looks like. Remove this. So this is her. So when we say replication of design, this is what it basically mean. No matter the design you're working in. This one is simple because it is just a one color, one layer design. So there are some designs now that would not have one color, one layer. So those concepts of layers, effects will not come in now. So before we proceed, any questions? Before we proceed, any questions? Are there any questions? No? Okay, let's go to a different workspace now. So the secret to replicating a design is to trace the design outline, trace the different components. Okay, so most of the work I do. Okay, so let's look at this most slim. Emily, is it this one you wanted to ask for? This, let me show you. This Muslim girl. Is it this one you asked for?
Yes, yes, that's the one.
So what I did was the same thing. I replicated the design. Okay, so it's in 3 different stages, as you can see here. So the stage 1, let me look for the original picture if it's still here. So, okay, here she is. Okay, let me change the contrast. So most illustrators work with cartoons and anime and the likes, but I prefer using human beings because they're just more artistic for my taste. So look at the original picture here. Now, what I did, what anybody that is designing would do is we trace the outline, trace the what's the scarf called? Ibele, what's it called? Eh?
Hijab.
Oh, hijab. Okay, yeah. I traced the hijab. From the hijab, I entered her face. So I traced the eyes, the nose, the lips. So it will be difficult for us to actually trace each one the way it is now. So what I do is that we tweak the contrast, the image properties. We look for the exposure. We try and change it to look for what we can outline from exposure into contrast saturation. Just try and tweak and adjust the image properties to see what we can actually outline and trace out. That's what I did here. So when I did that, I got this outline here. So I traced, let me ungroup it. I traced the hijab. Okay, so remember I talked about layers now. This is where layers comes in. This is behind of the hijab, and this is the front part of the hijab here. Then these basically are the ruffles on the hijab. I brought it to the front layer of the hijab. Then working on her face now. If you can see properly, I drew her brows. This is her brow. This is her brow. This is her eyelash. I basically traced the trace everything I could see on her face. So the thing is, I did not just jump to starting designing people's faces. I started with small illustrations like minimalistic drawings, just cartoons that did not really have facial features, basically. Let me look for one real quick. Okay, here, and she has features. Okay, something like this. So this is a good example of minimalistic illustration. So what it helped me do, I want it to help illustrators do now that I'm starting, is that it will help us to have a better grasp of our pen tool. So the pen tool is actually the major thing that we actually use to design. It is going to be very important that we have a good flow, good control of our pen tool. So from these drawings, okay, I entered something like this. I use her face to draw this. So there's a progression here. The first thing I did was I went to Pinterest. I got minimalistic illustrations, just cartoons, and started tracing them. It helps me have a good flow of the good use of my pen tool. From that, I left cartoons, I entered human beings. So I traced their faces, but without features, no nose, no eyes. So I just traced a couple of them. Watch this one now. I got a picture from Pinterest. So trace her body, remove her eyes and her nose, basically. So from there, I started applying. So this thing basically took me like a month to actually perfect. Okay, not perfect it sharp, but a month to actually get used to. So it's not about perfection now, it's just about practice, getting used to the design tools, which is your pen tool majorly. From minimalist, I went to her. So if you observe, I added features now. I added face, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, everything. I added everything now. So if you see, there is less precision here. So it's just practice, from practice, practice, practice. So remember, I mentioned working with the what's it called now? Properties of the image. So I can get the feel of it. I can get how and what to trace out, basically. So tinting the image, using highlights and shadows, those are the things you can actually tweak and work with to get what to trace. You get, so the foundation is actually knowing what to trace. So and knowing it, you need to see it. So seeing it now, we need to adjust the properties of the image, different lighting, different shadows and the like. So let's go back to our Muslim girl. Where is she now? Okay. So from the stage one, I messed with the properties. Then stage two, I traced everything from all her features I could see. Nose, mouth, lashes, eye, tint, and the likes. Then I started applying color. So this is the stage three here, you see. Started applying color. See? So from colors now, I started applying effects. So the effects that I use majorly is the blur effect. Get. So if you remember on group, okay. If you remember this properties layer, this right hand side on your screen, it shows us different properties of a vector. So designing an illustration now, making it more realistic, is that we'll mess with the properties, the colors, the transparency, the blur effects, and even shadows sometimes. I rarely use shadows. So one thing I work with majorly is just transparency. So now this her face now, transparency is at 30%. I reduce it a lot to make it resemble the actual image to a certain degree. You get, so that's just it. That's just it. So step one is just knowing how best to work with your pen tool, practicing with minimalistic drawings. From there, you move on to human figures. From there, you move on to adding of features to the tracings and adding color and just working with it basically. So that's basically what I do. Let me show you a few of my other works. Okay, so someone there. Okay, so something like this now. This is fairly easy. I got this picture from Pinterest also.
Mm.
Can you mute the person? Is it possible? Thank you very much, sir. Okay, so for this image now, the same thing applies. What we will do is we'll try to adjust the properties of the image. So this is the original image, the original property of the image. So adjust the contrast, adjust the saturation, adjust the temperature, adjust the tint. So it's not compulsory you adjust everything else. It just depends on what you want to look for as at when you want to look for it. So the first step is to basically trace the head, just tracing the head, then the small features you can observe, like this here now. This is something we need to take note of. This, you observe that, you take note of that. There's something like this now. So basically, those properties, those features in our face that can actually bring out the face is what we use vectors to what's it called now? To trace out. You get. So that's basically it for all the pictures you see around. Her face too. Work with work on the properties of the image. So for ease now, but there are some different things that we need to understand. One of such is, let's see. So there are things like highlights, there are things like shades, there are things like shadows. We need to understand this concept. So what they do now is that they help us understand where light is coming from, where light is going to, and the like. So if you see our face now, we see that. Let's bring it to normal again. Sorry. If you see this lady's face, you observe now that there's a little bit of lighting coming from the front, like from straight from her face. It's just light is reflected on her face. So you see this part now, there's a little bit of light here. Now if you watch this part of her shoulder, there's a bit of a shadow here, or a shade rather. So you just now here now this dark part, I think is a shadow. So identifying, like I said initially, identifying the different components of the design, shades, highlights, shadows. I'm going to, if you are doing this kind of design now, you're going to need to understand each concept very, very well. So like his face now, you see light coming from this part, you see light in this purple-ish area, then you see another part of, I think it's black-ish, a little bit of black from his side, the side of his face. So you need to identify these different color variations, these are light variations. So if you identify those light variations, you can now work with the properties of the image to know where to trace out. So let me look for another drawing that I did. Let's see her face. Where is the reflection? Okay, let's see her face. So this is the original image. Let me look for the background. So let's give us the actual background now. It's quite dark. It's quite dark. It's too dark. Let's look at white. So this is her face. So she's facing the sides. Now you observe now that there are different parts. We can see lights reflecting on her face and her body. You can see this part of her face. There's light coming out from there. So we can draw vectors from there. This part of her neck, there's light coming from here. Can draw vectors there. Then this part of her shoulder, it's her hand area, there's light. Now, if you observe, there's also like there are shades now of gray, of black in some other part of her body. You get like this light, this place that there's light now, there's also a shade here. We can draw a vector from there. This part of her, what's it called? Her throat area, there are shades there. Then this part of this under her chin, there's a shadow here. Then you see, we first identify each component. Is there a shade? Is there a highlight here? Is there a shadow here? So identify them, then draw, you trace them. So that's where we got here. We identify them, so we trace them to get this out.
Please hold on, everyone. The network is bad. Let's just be patient.
On the outline now, we add color to. So my network just flustered. Give me a second to get it back up. Sorry about this.
It seems his network is really bad.
Yeah, it's
Or if,
network. Let me just try.
yeah, okay.
So while I'm getting it back on, if there are any questions, I will probably be taking them now. That's a good time. So are
Yes,
we
so
all?
questions are important.
Yes, please. Are we all designers here? This people are just looking at me like nobody's even saying anything. Are we here?
Are we all following?
So we have
You can
crypto. We
unmute
have
yourself. Oh.
okay. Crypto said yes.
You know, we are
I can
following.
hear. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back. Let me try and share my screen again. Share window.
Okay.
No, no, not just. Can we see it now? Is it up? Can we see it?
I can see your screen clearly. I don't know if others can see also. Okay.
Yeah, I can
I
see.
can see the screen too.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so thanks a lot. So I was talking about the different lighting variations. So the shades, the highlights, the shadow. So it all depends on where the light is coming from, where it's going to. So we draw our vector from that conclusion. So after drawing the vector, we go on to adding of colors. So we can see her face now. Let's try and compare these two now. You see, this white part is like this part that there is light here. This part here is this part that there is light here. This part on her neck is this part that there is light here. This part on her neck, this part that there is a shade here. This part on her arm is this part that there is light here. So basically, drew all these vectors from what we were able to interpret from the original picture. And we could only do that if we were able to tweak the properties of the image to a certain degree. Sorry about that. Okay. So we adjusted a lot of things now per time. The contrast, we adjusted the exposure,
Sorry,
we
please.
adjust. Okay.
Okay, now I can see.
Okay. So I was talking about tweaking the properties of the image, adjusting the exposure, adjusting the contrast, adjusting saturation. So we do this to be able to get a clearer picture of what to trace with us. So from colors, now we move on to adding of effects. So here, let's look here. So if you see now, these are the, okay, let's take this one out now. And come here. So 1, 2, 3. So from here, we added effects. So the effects that I majorly use is the blur effect. So I come here, I click on this now, for example, come to effects. There is inner shadow, there is drop shadow, there is layer blur, there is background blur. So what I do is I use layer blur. Then click on this here. Now there are different, what's it called now? Units we can work with. This is 4 now. So it depends on the image, depends on your own taste. So you can either increase it to, let's say, 30, increase it to, let's say, 45, increase it to even, let's say, 60. So it depends on your taste. It depends on what you want to produce from your drawing. So it's just discretion, basically. So that's basically it from designing. So what I would advise, we don't just delve into drawing hyper realistic drawings just like that. We need to know how to work with our tools first of all, get a feel of the interface of Figma, then the pen tools, the shape tools, all the tools that we would require to actually illustrate. Then from there on, we go on to using minimalistic designs. So if you want to be like major in what I'm majoring in now, which is hyper realistic drawings, now we go into illustrations that are minimalistic. The aim of that now is to have us get a better grasp of our pen tool, gets how just basically understanding how it flows. Because this pen tool, it took me like a month to actually understand how best to use it. You get, so if you're a very, very good designer, talent there, no wahala. But God, it took me a long time to do it. So that basically it. Minimalistic drawings now I entered looking for human beings to draw minimalistic it's all like that. So from then on, I started drawing full time. All the pictures I could find, I started replicating them. So it's just practice. It's just practice. So I started designing at June. Yes. So from June to this is October now, Bob. So it's just everyday practice that's got me here. So that's basically it for this session. If there are any questions, kindly ask now. Hey, Billy.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, well done. Nice
Thanks,
work
sir.
that you did. Yeah, this is Kola.
Okay.
So I'm not, although I joined the class a little bit late, so I didn't start with you guys. So I didn't know how you started your drawing lessons. But it's good to know that someone is using Figma to draw.
Okay.
So I'm a UI UX designer. So I
Yep.
practically use Figma for my works.
Yeah.
So for designs and the
I think I
prototyping and all.
think also
Hello?
sharp. I can hear you. I can hear you.
For prototyping and all of that stuff.
Let me
So
try and show you what's on last.
it's actually good to see that you're using Figma for another thing,
So
another productive thing.
this is what I was working on last night. So this is
Okay, let me see.
basically UI also. So Figma is actually it depends on the user of Figma. There's no limit per se.
Yeah,
So you can
Figma is actually very interesting. Very
exactly.
interesting.
So,
Very interesting app, platform. Very
exactly.
interesting.
So
I'm happy to see that you are using it for this kind of stuff. So either ways, I've been tuned to use it for something else again, apart from the stereotypical way that I've known with it.
So thank you very much, Kola. Are there
Yeah.
any other comments or contributions, questions?
I guess everybody's still trying to catch up or see.
Okay, thank you very much, Eugene.
Ebele, over to you.
Can you
Thank
hear
you,
me?
sir. Yes. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Eugene.
So I would like to drop a poll for those of you who are still here. If you would like to have an in-depth class on Figma, you would just quickly respond to the poll. So we see how many persons are interested in having more detailed class on this. Thank you.
Well, that is going on me. My own short comment now is, gosh, Eugene, well done, really,
Thank you.
well done. Now, thinking back when you started as a graphic designer with Studihub Digital Academy, I'm um, I'm quite impressed by how you've um, tried to learn as much as you can, even with the COVID-19, the pandemic. You
Yeah.
still try to, catch up and all. Well done. And
Thank
I
you.
don't know if I said this before. Um, Eugene is one of the graduates of Study Hub's Digital Academy. he learned graphics design, and you graduated last year, and
This year, I think. Is it this year?
2020. Yes, it's this year.
Yes.
Sorry about that. It's this year. You're the second set. You're the second set of Studihub's graduates. So thank you very much for offering to have this class with us. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you very much also.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. More grace to your elbow.
Thank
More
you, sir.
power to your elbow.
Okay.
So for those
So
persons who are just joining, we would also send you a recording of this class. Thank you.
all right, good night, guys. Enjoy
Good
the
night.
rest of the night. Bye.
Mr. Desmond, is that how we just come in and just zoom out like that?
What do you want me to do?